Many years ago, in the ancient land of Judah, lived a man named Isaiah. His life began during a complex and uncertain time when God's people were split into two separate kingdoms, Israel in the north and Judah in the south. The very first verse of Isaiah's book introduces the time period he lived in. It tells of the vision he received concerning Judah and Jerusalem during the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, all kings of Judah. This was a time of rapid change and growing challenges. Isaiah was raised in Jerusalem, a city deeply significant to the people of God. From early on, he was taught the laws of the Lord and gained a deep understanding of God's ways. As he matured, he paid close attention to what was happening around him, carefully observing how people treated one another and lived their daily lives. Isaiah became increasingly troubled by the way many had turned away from God's instructions. His early years were during the rule of King Uzziah. According to 2 Chronicles chapter 26, verse 5, Uzziah sought guidance from God during the time of Zechariah, who helped him walk in reverence for the Lord. As long as the king remained faithful, God granted him success. As a result, the nation experienced progress and stability. There was plenty of food, the military was strong, and new buildings were rising. Isaiah took note of the growth around him, how the cities expanded, how soldiers trained for battle, and how the people celebrated their achievements. Yet, beneath the surface of prosperity, Isaiah recognized troubling signs. Despite the progress, not all was well. Wealth was being concentrated in the hands of a few, while others struggled with poverty. This imbalance disturbed him. In Isaiah chapter 5, verse 8, he would later address this concern, saying, "Woe to those who build house upon house and join field to field until there is no space left and you dwell alone in the land." He knew this growing gap was unjust and displeasing to God. In addition, more and more people were turning to idols, abandoning the Lord who had delivered their ancestors from bondage in Egypt. This spiritual drift grieved Isaiah deeply, and he understood that one day he would be called to speak up against it. During all this, the region was becoming more unstable. A powerful nation, Assyria, was expanding quickly and posed a threat to Israel, the northern kingdom. Fear began to spread throughout Judah as people questioned if their land would be next. In their worry, some began to look for protection by forming alliances with foreign powers. Isaiah would eventually address this concern in chapter 31, verse 1, warning, "Woe to those who go down to Egypt for help, who rely on horses, who trust in the abundance of chariots and in the strength of horsemen." Isaiah's story begins here, shaped by the times he lived in, times of both visible growth and hidden decline, times when a messenger was needed to call the people back to the heart of God. Isaiah understood something many around him missed. The people were placing their hope in foreign powers rather than trusting in God. This deeply burdened him as he saw them seeking safety where it couldn't truly be found. Then a life-changing moment came. In the 6th chapter of the book bearing his name, verse 1 tells us, "In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord, high and lifted up, seated on a throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple." Isaiah was in the temple, the sacred space where God was honored, when a powerful vision unfolded before him. He saw the Lord himself, majestic and exalted. The presence of God filled the entire place. The sight was so breathtaking, it was almost beyond comprehension. This moment would reshape Isaiah's entire future. It marked the beginning of his calling as a prophet of the highest. In verses 2 and 3, Isaiah describes extraordinary beings surrounding God's throne. He says, "Above him stood seraphim, each having 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. And they cried out to each other, 'Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory.'" These heavenly beings served in God's presence, and their voices thundered through the temple, shaking its very foundations. Isaiah stood in awe and fear. He had never witnessed anything so glorious, so holy. It was overwhelming. God's greatness and purity were more than words could describe. But then came a sobering realization. Isaiah became deeply aware of his own unworthiness. He saw how flawed he was and how broken his people were. How could someone like him stand before such holiness? In verse 5, he cries out, "Woe is me! I am lost, For I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts." Isaiah feared that being in God's presence would lead to his destruction. He knew he wasn't pure enough to stand before such glory. This moment of humility, recognizing his guilt and the sin around him, was key to what came next. But God had a different plan. Rather than reject Isaiah, God prepared to transform him. Verses 6 and 7 describe what happened. "Then one of the seraphim flew to me, holding a burning coal taken with tongs from the altar. He touched my mouth with it and said, 'Look, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is removed and your sin is forgiven.'" Though the act may have caused discomfort, it carried deep meaning. God was cleansing Isaiah, showing him that no sin is too great to be purified. In that instant, Isaiah was made whole. Forgiven and renewed, he was now ready to fulfill the purpose God had for him. And then, something extraordinary took place. Isaiah heard the voice of the Lord. In chapter 6, verse 8, God asked a profound question: "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" It was as though he was searching for someone willing to carry his message, someone to represent him before the people. Without delay, Isaiah answered, "Here am I, send me." He was ready to obey no matter what it would cost. Even though the mission would be difficult, Isaiah was determined to serve the God he had just encountered, the one who had shown him mercy and grace. That moment changed everything for him. Then came the assignment. In verses 9 and 10 of the same chapter, God told Isaiah, "Go and tell this people, be ever hearing, but never understanding. Be ever seeing, but never perceiving." God continued saying, "Make the heart of this people calloused, make their ears heavy and shut their eyes." Isaiah was to speak boldly, even though the message would fall on deaf ears and blind eyes. The people would resist the truth, not grasping what they heard or saw. Though it seemed like a discouraging mission, God wanted Isaiah to remain faithful and continue speaking, even through rejection and hardship. The responsibility placed on Isaiah demanded deep courage and unwavering faith. Troubled by the difficulty of the task, he asked God in verse 11, "How long, Lord?" He wanted to understand how long the people would remain unresponsive to God's word. God's answer pointed to tough times ahead. He described a future of empty cities and desolate homes, a season of judgment and suffering. But even within the heavy message, there was a spark of hope. In verse 13, the Lord gave Isaiah a glimpse of restoration. He said, "Though a tenth remains in the land, it will again be laid waste. But like the terebinth, or oak that leaves a stump when cut down, so the holy seed will be the stump in the land." This meant that even though devastation would come, God would preserve a faithful remnant. There would always be a root, those who remained true to him. God's purpose for his people included renewal and a future beyond the judgment. From that moment, Isaiah stepped into his role as a prophet. He would go on to speak truth to kings, religious leaders, and everyday people. Often his message would warn of consequences if the nation did not return to their Creator. There were also moments when he shared words of encouragement and reassurance. Isaiah understood the road ahead would be difficult, yet he was fully committed to carrying out the assignment God had entrusted to him. He had witnessed the majesty of God, received his mercy, and accepted his divine mission. From that moment on, he was prepared to face whatever trials awaited him. This marked the beginning of Isaiah's prophetic journey. What he experienced in the temple was only the starting point of a life fully devoted to speaking on God's behalf. Isaiah stepped out of the temple transformed, his heart renewed, his spirit strengthened, and his purpose clear. He would confront kings, challenge corruption and idol worship, and bring messages filled with hope about a coming Redeemer. Isaiah's life was forever changed. Through him, God's words would reach the people for generations. With his calling confirmed, Isaiah stepped into his role as God's messenger. The early days of his ministry were not without struggle. One of the first major issues he had to address was idol worship in Judah. In chapter 2, verses 8 and 9, he speaks firmly about this concern. Their land is full of idols. They bow down to the work of their hands, to what their fingers have made. So people will be brought low and everyone humbled. Isaiah saw the people turning to man-made objects instead of honoring the one true God. This troubled him deeply. He knew such actions would lead to serious consequences, so he boldly spoke against them. Isaiah reminded the people of the covenant they had with the God who led their ancestors out of Egypt. He urged them to remember their roots and stay faithful. Another issue that stirred Isaiah's heart was the widespread mistreatment of the poor. He saw injustice everywhere. In chapter 3, verses 14 and 15, he addresses this matter with strong words. The Lord enters into judgment against the elders and leaders of his people. It is you who have ruined my vineyard. The loot from the poor is in your houses. What do you mean by crushing my people and grinding the faces of the poor? Declares the Lord Almighty. Isaiah was outraged by how the wealthy and influential abused their power. He declared that God would not overlook such cruelty. Isaiah called on leaders and citizens alike to act with fairness and compassion. He reminded everyone that God cared deeply for the well-being of every individual, especially the defenseless. But Isaiah's message didn't end there. He frequently spoke of the importance of returning to God with a sincere heart. In chapter 1, verses 16 and 17, he proclaims, "Wash and make yourselves clean. Remove your evil deeds from before my eyes. Stop doing wrong, learn to do right. Seek justice, defend the oppressed. Take up the cause of the fatherless. Plead the case of the widow." Isaiah's plea was for genuine transformation. He made it clear that outward religious rituals were not enough. What God truly desired was a life marked by integrity, compassion, and justice. He urged the people to protect and support orphans and widows, the most vulnerable members of society. For Isaiah, real worship was revealed in how people treated one another with mercy and righteousness. Alongside his call for repentance, Isaiah also warned about the consequences the people would face if they refused to turn from their ways. In chapter 5, he paints a vivid picture to convey this warning. Verses 1 and 2 read, "I will sing for the one I love a song about his vineyard. My beloved had a vineyard on a fertile hillside. He prepared the ground, cleared it of stones, and planted it with the best vines. He built a watchtower in it and carved out a winepress as well. Then he expected it to produce good grapes, but it brought forth only worthless fruit." In this metaphor, God is portrayed as the caretaker of the vineyard, while the people of Judah represent the vineyard itself. Isaiah was expressing that although God had provided everything for his people, they failed to respond with obedience and righteousness. Their lives did not reflect the kind of character God desired. The story continues in verses 3 through 6. "Now you people of Jerusalem and Judah, judge between me and my vineyard. What more could I have done for it? When I expected it to yield good grapes, why did it give only bad ones? Now I will let you know what I plan to do to my vineyard. I will remove its protection, and it will be ruined. I will tear down its wall, and it will be overrun. I will turn it into a wasteland, left uncared for, overgrown with thorns and briars. I will also command the clouds to withhold rain from it." This was a serious and sobering message. Isaiah was making it clear that if the people didn't return to God, they would face the results of their choices. The vineyard served as a symbol to help them grasp the reality that their behavior carried weight and consequences. While Isaiah was sharing these prophetic messages with the people, he also began working closely with the rulers of Judah. One of the early kings he advised was Ahaz. In chapter 7, the scripture recounts a moment of intense fear and uncertainty. Verses 1 and 2 describe the situation. "During the reign of Ahaz, son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, King Rezin of Syria, and King Pekah, son of Remaliah of Israel, came to wage war against Jerusalem, but they were not able to overpower it. When the royal house of David was informed that Syria had allied with Ephraim, the hearts of Ahaz and his people trembled like trees shaking in the wind." This was a critical moment. Syria and Israel had joined forces against Judah, creating a terrifying threat. The entire nation, including its king, was filled with fear. In response to this crisis, God instructed Isaiah to meet with King Ahaz. Chapter 7, verse 3 tells us, "Then the Lord said to Isaiah, Go out with your son Shear-Jashub to meet Ahaz at the end of the aqueduct of the upper pool, on the road to the launderer's field." God was sending Isaiah to provide reassurance and direction during a time of great uncertainty. In verses 4 and 5, the prophet Isaiah gives a message to King Ahaz. "Be watchful, remain calm, and do not be afraid. Don't lose heart because of these two burning sticks. Rezin of Syria, and the son of Remaliah. Isaiah was encouraging Ahaz not to be overwhelmed by fear, even though Judah was being threatened by these two enemy nations. He was urging him to place his confidence in God, rather than in fear or panic. However, Ahaz found it difficult to embrace Isaiah's words. So God extended an extraordinary offer. In chapter 7, verses 10 to 12, it says, "Once more the Lord spoke to Ahaz, 'Ask the Lord your God for a sign, whether from the depths below or the heights above.' Yet Ahaz responded, 'I will not ask. I will not put the Lord to the test.'" God had given him the opportunity to request any sign at all as a confirmation of his word. But Ahaz declined, acting as if he was being reverent, while his heart was already set on trusting political alliances over God. That's when Isaiah delivered one of the most powerful prophetic messages recorded in Scripture. In chapter 7, verse 14, Isaiah declares, "The Lord himself will give you a sign. The young woman will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call him Emmanuel." This was a prophecy pointing far ahead to the birth of Jesus. The name Emmanuel means God with us, signifying a time when God would be present among his people in a profound and personal way. This message wasn't just for Ahaz. It was meant to speak to God's people across generations. Even when the future seemed uncertain, God was already preparing something far greater. Years later, Isaiah continued his prophetic ministry under King Hezekiah, a king who, unlike Ahaz, made an effort to honor God. In chapter 38, we come across a remarkable moment in Hezekiah's life. The king had fallen seriously ill, and Isaiah, son of Amoz, came to deliver a solemn message. "Set your house in order, for you are going to die. You will not recover." Faced with this news, Hezekiah turned toward the wall and cried out to the Lord. In deep prayer, he pleaded for more time, and God listened. In verses 4 through 6, the Lord spoke again to Isaiah. "Go and tell Hezekiah, this is what the Lord, the God of your ancestor David, says. I have heard your prayer and seen your tears. I will add 15 years to your life, and I will rescue you and this city from the king of Assyria. I will shield this city." God not only granted Hezekiah more years to live, but also assured protection for Jerusalem against their powerful enemies. It was a clear reminder that God responds to heartfelt prayer, and that he is always working for the good of those who trust in him. To confirm his promise, God worked an extraordinary sign. In chapter 38, verses 7 and 8, Isaiah says, "This is what the Lord has spoken as proof that he will carry out his word. I will cause the shadow cast by the sun to move backward 10 steps on the staircase of Ahaz." And it happened just as God declared. The shadow reversed 10 steps on the sundial, almost like time briefly turned back. It was a clear and powerful reminder that God was granting King Hezekiah more years of life. This event surely strengthened the hearts of the king and his people, revealing not only God's mighty hand, but also his response to sincere prayer. During Hezekiah's reign, Isaiah wasn't only delivering spiritual messages. He was also called to give counsel on political decisions. One of the major challenges was the looming danger from Assyria, a strong empire determined to take over Judah. Many in leadership, including some of the king's advisors, believed that joining forces with Egypt would be the safest way to guard the kingdom. But Isaiah was clear. This strategy didn't align with God's will. In chapter 30, verses 1 and 2, the Lord declares, "Woe to the stubborn children who execute their own plans without my direction, who build alliances without my spirit, adding wrongdoing upon wrongdoing, who travel to Egypt without seeking my counsel, seeking shelter in Pharaoh's power and refuge in Egypt's shade." Isaiah consistently urged the people to rely on God rather than foreign powers. In chapter 31, verse 1, he warns, "Woe to those who seek help from Egypt, depending on horses, placing their confidence in the number of chariots and the power of horsemen, but failing to turn to the Holy One of Israel." Isaiah was pleading with both the king and the people to see that safety wouldn't come from treaties or armies. Only God had the power to deliver them. He wanted them to recognize the weight of their choices, that placing their trust in the wrong source would only lead to more trouble. His guidance wasn't always easy to accept. Trusting in visible forces like military strength seemed more reassuring than placing faith in the unseen God. But Isaiah kept calling them to remember all that God had already done for them and to believe that he would continue to provide. In chapter 37, when Assyria finally marched against Judah, the importance of Isaiah's counsel became clear. Rather than turning to foreign nations, Hezekiah prayed to the Lord, and God stepped in, protecting Jerusalem in an astonishing way. All of these moments, Hezekiah's healing, the miraculous reversal of the sun's shadow, and the divine rescue from Assyria, served as testimonies to God's power and loyalty. Isaiah's words continually pointed the people back to the truth. God is sovereign over every situation. Even the mightiest empires and the turning points of history are under his control. Isaiah's messages were not limited to his own generation. They continue to speak across time, encouraging us today to place our confidence in God, especially when life feels uncertain or overwhelming. And Isaiah's role wasn't limited to Judah alone. He also carried messages from God to other nations, showing that God's reach and concern extend far beyond one people. These messages were known as oracles, and many of them focused on the coming judgments that would affect various nations. One of the key nations mentioned by Isaiah was Babylon. In chapter 13, verses 1 and 2, he begins with these words, "A prophecy concerning Babylon that Isaiah son of Amoz received. Raise a banner on a barren hilltop. Call out to them, wave your hands so they may enter the gates of the nobles." At that point in history, Babylon was becoming increasingly powerful. Yet Isaiah revealed that it would eventually collapse. He explained that God would raise up other forces to bring Babylon to its end. This message carried great weight. It reminded people that no kingdom, no matter how mighty, could stand against God's authority. Isaiah also prophesied about Egypt and Ethiopia, influential nations located to the south. In chapter 19, verse 1, he declares, "A prophecy concerning Egypt. Look, the Lord is coming to Egypt, riding on a swift cloud. The idols of Egypt tremble before him, and the hearts of the Egyptians melt with fear." Isaiah warned that Egypt would face hardship under God's judgment. He spoke of civil conflict and failed leadership within the nation. Yet even amid that warning, Isaiah offered hope. In verse 22 of the same chapter, he writes, "The Lord will strike Egypt with a plague. He will strike them and heal them. They will return to the Lord, and he will answer their prayers and bring healing." This showed that God's intention wasn't merely to bring justice, but also to guide people back to him. Isaiah's prophecies extended further. He spoke concerning other regions such as Moab, Damascus, and Tyre. In chapter 15, he described Moab's downfall and the sorrow that would overwhelm its people. In chapter 17, he warned that Damascus, capital of Syria, would cease to exist and be reduced to ruins. In chapter 23, Isaiah addressed Tyre, a wealthy city known for its sea trade. He predicted that Tyre would be destroyed and forgotten for 70 years. These declarations made it clear that God's authority reached beyond Judah. He governed the fate of every nation. Isaiah served as a messenger, delivering the truth that every land would face consequences for its choices and would ultimately answer to God. A central theme in Isaiah's message was the day of the Lord, a time ahead when God would bring justice to all nations. In chapter 2, verses 12 and 13, Isaiah proclaimed, "The Lord Almighty has set a day for all who are proud and arrogant, for all that is exalted, and they will be brought low, for all the tall cedars of Lebanon, and all the mighty oaks of Bashan." Isaiah spoke of a future time when God would bring justice to the earth. Those who held power and ignored God's ways would be brought low. This moment, referred to as the Day of the Lord, would carry a mix of fear and hope. Fear for those who turned away from God, but hope for those who remained faithful, knowing that a time was coming when all wrongs would be made right. Yet Isaiah's messages weren't limited to warnings. He also shared incredible promises filled with encouragement and restoration. One of his most powerful visions appears in chapter 11. In the first 2 verses, he proclaims, "A shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse. From his roots, a branch will bear fruit. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and power, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord." Jesse, the father of King David, represented the royal line, and Isaiah foretold that someone from David's family would arise in the future. This figure would be led by God's Spirit and would reign with fairness and deep insight. Later, believers recognized this as a prophecy pointing to Jesus. Isaiah continued by offering a picture of what the world would look like under this righteous leader. In verses 6 to 9 of the same chapter, he describes a scene filled with harmony. The wolf will live with the lamb, the leopard will lie down with the goat, the calf and the lion and the yearling together, and a little child will lead them. The cow will feed with the bear, their young will lie down together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox. The infant will play near the cobra's hole, and the young child will reach into the viper's nest. They will neither harm nor destroy on all my holy mountain, for the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. This peaceful vision, where natural enemies coexist, expressed the hope that God would one day bring total peace and safety to the world, an existence free of danger and fear. Another powerful message from Isaiah can be found in the chapter 53. There he foretells the coming of one who would suffer for the sake of others. Verses 4 and 5 read, "Surely he took up our pain and carried our suffering, yet we thought he was being punished by God. But he was pierced for our wrongdoing and crushed for our sins. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him, and by his wounds we are healed." This prophecy holds deep meaning because it speaks of a servant who would endure pain to bring healing and forgiveness to others. Christians see this as a direct reference to Jesus' sacrifice on the cross for the redemption of humanity. Isaiah also gave glimpses of a joyful future that God was preparing. In chapter 25, he paints the image of a grand celebration. Verses 6 to 8 say, "On this mountain, the Lord Almighty will prepare a feast of rich food for all people, a banquet of aged wine, the finest meats and the best of wines. He will destroy the shroud that enfolds all peoples, the sheet that covers all nations. He will swallow up death forever. The sovereign Lord will wipe away the tears from all faces." This vision reflects the great hope of a time when sorrow and death will be no more, and joy will fill the hearts of all who come to God's table. On this mountain, the Lord will remove the covering that lies over all people, the veil stretched across every nation. He will put an end to death once and for all. The Almighty will gently wipe away every tear from every face. Across the earth, he will take away the shame from his people. The Lord himself has declared it. Isaiah used the image of a grand feast to express God's deep desire to bring happiness, healing, and unity to everyone. When God wipes away tears, it reveals how personally he cares about human pain and suffering. Isaiah also spoke about a future city, a renewed Jerusalem, crafted by God himself. In chapter 65, verses 17 and 18, God declares, "Look, I am making new heavens and a new earth. The past will not be remembered or come to mind. Instead, be joyful and celebrate what I am creating. Jerusalem will be a source of delight, and its people will bring joy." Through these words, Isaiah was sharing that God wouldn't just mend what was broken. He would build something entirely new. This future would be filled with lasting joy, free from sorrow or hurt. This was a powerful message of encouragement for those experiencing hardship. A key part of Isaiah's hope-filled vision was his reassurance to people who would eventually live in exile. Even before it took place, God had already begun offering comfort through Isaiah's voice. One of the most cherished chapters in the book, chapter 40, opens with gentle words meant to soothe. In verses 1 and 2, God says, "Comfort, comfort my people. Speak gently to Jerusalem. Announce to her that her time of struggle has ended, that her wrongs have been forgiven, and that she has received more than enough from the Lord." These words were like an embrace from God to a people who would one day feel lost and alone. He was reminding them that they were not forgotten, and that their season of pain would not last forever. Later in that same chapter, Isaiah gives more assurance of God's power and loving care. In verse 11 he writes, "He cares for his people like a shepherd cares for his sheep. God holds the lambs in his arms, drawing them near to his heart, and gently guides those with young." This image of God as a compassionate shepherd provided great comfort to the people, assuring them that even during challenging times, God would care for them with love and attentiveness. Isaiah wanted to reassure them that, regardless of what they faced, they could always rely on God's care. Another source of comfort is found in Isaiah 43, 1-2, where he says, "But now this is what the Lord says, He who created you, Jacob, and He who formed you, Israel. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name, you are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you walk through the rivers, they will not overwhelm you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. These words remind the people that God would be by their side, even through the most challenging and dangerous circumstances. It was a promise of his unshakable presence, no matter what. Isaiah also shared how God would use even foreign rulers to fulfill his plans for his people. In chapter 45, he mentions Cyrus, a king who wasn't yet born during Isaiah's time. In verses 1 and 4, Isaiah writes, "This is what the Lord says to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I take hold of to subdue nations before him, to strip kings of their armor, to open doors before him so that gates will not be shut. For the sake of Jacob, my servant, of Israel, my chosen, I summon you by name and bestow on you a title of honor, even though you do not acknowledge me." This demonstrates that God had a plan for his people's future, even when the situation seemed dire. He could use anyone, even a king who didn't recognize him, to carry out his will. Isaiah's hopeful and restorative prophecies were not only for the people of his time, but would continue to offer encouragement for generations. In Isaiah 55:12-13, he says, "You will go out in joy and be led forth in peace. The mountains and hills will burst into song before you, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. Instead of the thorn bush will grow the juniper, and instead of briars, the myrtle will grow. This will be for the Lord's renown, an everlasting sign that will endure forever." This vivid picture of joy and celebration from all of creation emphasized that God's restoration would be complete and far-reaching. Isaiah also spoke of a transformation in people's hearts. In Isaiah 44:3, he says, "For I will pour water on the thirsty land and streams on the dry ground. I will pour out my spirit on your offspring and my blessing on your descendants." This promise showed that God's restoration wouldn't be merely external, but would also touch people's hearts. He would bring about a deep change in them, enabling them to live in ways that pleased him, a promise of true, lasting transformation. One of the most striking features of Isaiah's prophecies is the way he intertwines predictions of events that would occur soon with those that would unfold much later. In chapter 61, Jesus quotes this passage in the synagogue, declaring that he was fulfilling these words. Isaiah writes, "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, and release from darkness for the prisoners, to announce the year of the Lord's favor." These words promise liberation, healing, and hope, revealing God's compassion for those who were suffering. Isaiah concludes his messages of hope with a breathtaking vision of a new heaven and a new earth. In chapter 65, verses 17 and 18, he says, "See, I will create new heavens and a new earth. The former things will not be remembered, nor will they come to mind. But be glad and rejoice forever in what I will create, for I will make Jerusalem a delight and its people a joy." This vision of a perfect future, where past troubles would be forgotten, offered a profound promise. It signified that God's ultimate purpose was to bring eternal joy and fulfillment to his people. Isaiah's messages of restoration and hope served as a guiding light for God's people, not just in his time, but for generations to follow. In chapter 60, verses 1 and 2, Isaiah declares, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. See, darkness covers the earth, and thick darkness is over the peoples. But the Lord rises upon you, and his glory appears over you." These words were a call for God's people to shine brightly in a world filled with darkness. Even when circumstances seemed bleak, Isaiah reassured them that God would bring light to his people and use them to illuminate the world. Isaiah also prophesied that people from all nations would come to worship the Lord. In chapter 56, verses 6 and 7, he writes, "And foreigners who bind themselves to the Lord to serve him, to love the name of the Lord, and to be his servants, all who keep the Sabbath without desecrating it, and who hold fast to my covenant, these I will bring to my holy mountain and give them joy in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and sacrifices will be accepted on my altar, for my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations." This highlighted God's vision for a much broader plan that extended beyond Israel, inviting people from every nation to know and worship him. One of the most beautiful images Isaiah uses to depict the restoration God would bring is the transformation of a desert into a blooming paradise. In chapter 35, verses 1 and 2, he writes, "The desert and the parched land will be glad. The wilderness will rejoice and blossom like the crocus. It will burst into bloom, rejoice greatly, and shout for joy. The glory of Lebanon will be given to it, the splendor of Carmel and Sharon. They will see the glory of the Lord." This imagery paints a picture of a land once barren, now bursting with life, symbolizing the flourishing and renewal that God promises to bring. The magnificence of our God is reflected in the way he brings life and beauty to even the most desolate places. Isaiah used the image of barren land suddenly blossoming with flowers to illustrate how God can create hope and vitality where there seems to be none. Isaiah also shared how God would transform the way people live together. In chapter 2, verse 4, he envisioned a world of peace. God will judge among the nations and resolve disputes for many people. They will turn their weapons into farming tools, swords into plowshares, spears into pruning hooks. Nations will no longer engage in war, nor will they train for battle. This powerful image of transforming weapons into tools for peace symbolized God's ultimate plan for a deep, lasting peace where war would no longer be necessary. Isaiah envisioned a world where all would live in harmony. His prophecies also promised physical healing and restoration. In chapter 35, verses 5 and 6, he spoke of a time when the blind would see, the deaf would hear, and the lame would leap like deer. The mute would shout for joy, and water would flow in the desert. These words foretold a future where God would heal all illness and disability, and physical suffering would end, allowing everyone to experience the fullness of life. One of the most striking aspects of Isaiah's messages of hope is his emphasis on God's ability to do new things. In chapter 43, verses 18 and 19, Isaiah says, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness, in streams in the wasteland." This was a reminder that God is never bound by the past. Even when people thought they knew everything about him, he would surprise them with new and wonderful actions. Isaiah's words urged people to remain alert and expectant for what God would do next. Isaiah's role as a prophet was filled with challenges, and he had to endure much opposition, especially from false prophets and corrupt leaders. In chapter 30, verse 10, Isaiah reveals how some rejected his message. They say to the seers, "See no more visions," and to the prophets, "Give us no more visions of what is right. Tell us pleasant things. Prophesy illusions." Despite this resistance to the truth, Isaiah remained courageous and faithful in delivering God's message, even when people preferred comforting falsehoods. To reinforce his message, God gave Isaiah several signs. One of them was the name of his son, Shir-Jashub, which means a remnant will return. In chapter 7, verse 3, God instructs Isaiah, "Go out, you and your son Shir-Jashub." This name served as a constant reminder of Isaiah's core message. Even in times of judgment, God would preserve a faithful group. Each time Isaiah called his son or someone asked about the name's meaning, it gave him an opportunity to speak about God's promise of future restoration. On occasion, God even instructed Isaiah to perform symbolic acts to powerfully convey his messages. The magnificence of our God is reflected in the way he brings life and beauty to even the most desolate places. Isaiah used the image of barren lands suddenly blossoming with flowers to illustrate how God can create hope and vitality where there seems to be none. Isaiah also shared how God would transform the way people live together. In chapter 2, verse 4, he envisioned a world of peace. God will judge among the nations and resolve disputes for many people. They will turn their weapons into farming tools, swords into plowshares, spears into pruning hooks. Nations will no longer engage in war, nor will they train for battle. This powerful image of transforming weapons into tools for peace symbolized God's ultimate plan for a deep, lasting peace where war would no longer be necessary. Isaiah envisioned a world where all would live in harmony. His prophecies also promised physical healing and restoration. In chapter 35, verses 5 and 6, he spoke of a time when the blind would see, the deaf would hear, and the lame would leap like deer. The mute would shout for joy, and water would flow in the desert. These words foretold a future where God would heal all illness and disability, and physical suffering would end, allowing everyone to experience the fullness of life. One of the most striking aspects of Isaiah's messages of hope is his emphasis on God's ability to do new things. In chapter 43, verses 18 and 19, Isaiah says, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness, in streams in the wasteland." This was a reminder that God is never bound by the past. Even when people thought they knew everything about him, he would surprise them with new and wonderful actions. Isaiah's words urge people to remain alert and expectant for what God would do next. Isaiah's role as a prophet was filled with challenges, and he had to endure much opposition, especially from false prophets and corrupt leaders. In chapter 30, verse 10, Isaiah reveals how some rejected his message. They say to the seers, "See no more visions," and to the prophets, "Give us no more visions of what is right. Tell us pleasant things. Prophesy illusions." Despite this resistance to the truth, Isaiah remained courageous and faithful in delivering God's message, even when people preferred comforting falsehoods. To reinforce his message, God gave Isaiah several signs. One of them was the name of his son, Shir-Jashub, which means a remnant will return. In chapter 7, verse 3, God instructs Isaiah, "Go out, you and your son Shir-Jashub." This name served as a constant reminder of Isaiah's core message. Even in times of judgment, God would preserve a faithful group. Each time Isaiah called his son or someone asked about the name's meaning, it gave him an opportunity to speak about God's promise of future restoration. On occasion, God even instructed Isaiah to perform symbolic acts to powerfully convey his messages. Isaiah envisioned a time when Jerusalem would be rebuilt and serve as the global center for worship. He spoke of how people from all nations would come to recognize and worship the God of Israel. These prophecies were especially meaningful to a people facing exile and the loss of their homeland. They provided hope that, even in their darkest moments, God had a plan to restore them and elevate them once again. One of the most powerful messages Isaiah delivered was found in chapter 55, where he extended a great invitation in verses 1 and 2. "Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters. And you who have no money, come, buy and eat. Come, buy wine and milk without money and without pardopanas. Why spend money on what is not bread and your labor on what does not satisfy?" This call reveals God's deep desire for all people to come to him and find true fulfillment. Isaiah is emphasizing that the most important things in life, such as God's forgiveness, love, and grace, are freely given to those who seek them. Isaiah's message continues with a promise of God's eternal covenant. In chapter 55, verse 3, he says, "Give ear and come to me. Listen that you may live. I will make an everlasting covenant with you. My faithful love promised to David." These words show that God's love and his commitment to his people are everlasting and unshakable. Despite all the warnings and judgments Isaiah had to deliver during his ministry, his final message is one of hope, eternal love, and God's unwavering faithfulness. His last prophecies and visions stand as a powerful testament to God's greatness and love. They demonstrate that even amid challenges and judgment, God's ultimate plan is one of redemption, restoration, and renewal. These messages, though spoken to the Israelites of Isaiah's time, continue to offer hope and inspiration to people across generations, including today. The life and ministry of Isaiah provide valuable lessons in faith, courage, and perseverance. He faced relentless opposition, delivered difficult messages, and performed actions that invited ridicule. Yet, he remained steadfast in his calling, trusting that God was in control and that his promises would come to fruition. Isaiah's story encourages us to trust God, even when our circumstances seem bleak, knowing that his plan is always in motion. His prophecies regarding the Messiah, the restoration of Israel, and the glorious future that God has prepared for his people continue to inspire believers today. They remind us that God is actively working in history to fulfill his purposes, and his love for us is boundless and eternal. Isaiah's visions of a world where peace prevails, justice reigns, and in all nations unite in worship of God offer us hope for the future. They motivate us to pursue justice and peace in our own lives and work toward a world that reflects God's will. Dear viewers, we have now reached the conclusion of this amazing exploration of the life and messages of the prophet Isaiah. His writings, which were composed centuries ago, still speak to us with great clarity and power today. They remind us of God's boundless love, His righteous justice, and His incredible plans for our future. If this message has touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with those around you. Let's spread the message of hope, love, and transformation far and wide. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content like this. Together, we can keep growing in faith, learning and embracing the wisdom found in God's Word. Isaiah's teachings challenge us to live with honesty, seek justice, and place our full trust in God, no matter what we face. Just as Isaiah remained faithful to his calling, let us also proclaim the good news of God's love to the world. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Isaiah's life and legacy. May his words continue to inspire and transform lives for generations to come. Until next time, may God richly bless you. Please like, comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe.